Creighton defeated Nebraska 98-74 here at the CHI Health Center. I'm Jon Nyatawa with the Omaha World-Herald here to break down the game for you. Well, it was a good game in the first half, and in the second half, Creighton really flexed its muscles and got its offense going, sort of shifted up into a higher gear, and Nebraska just could not keep up or slow the Jays down. There was a 30-9 run. That's 30-9. Just really changed the game, obviously, as that type of onslaught would, and it obviously was reminiscent of many other Creighton surges here in this building against Nebraska last year. And well, in most years, it's happened in the first half. Last year, certainly, I think at one point it was 40-9. And this year, because of Nebraska, I think, because of Nebraska's the way that Nebraska came out to start the game, it stayed in and responded when Creighton tried to kind of gain some separation or create some separation. But in the second half, it just wasn't able to didn't have enough firepower and maybe not enough focus and mental toughness to keep Creighton from pulling away. And honestly, you got to give some credit to Creighton, too. I think one of the things Greg McDermott said after the game was that he thought his guys in the second half did a better job of creating for one another. When they drove, move the ball, it was less about how can I get this shot for myself and more about how can I move the defense and then find my teammate. And so, I mean, it was kind of reflected in the statistics. Creighton had 14 assists in the second half on 23 made field goals. And when you watched it, it had good spacing. The ball moved. It looked like a lot of Creighton games have looked over the last couple years. Open three-pointers were they splashed the net. Creighton had 4 dunks and turned a lot of Nebraska turnovers into points. And it was a balanced effort. I mean, Marcus Zagorowski kind of led the way in the first half. He ended up with 22 points, but Denzel Mahoney added 20. Christian Bishop and Damian Jefferson were both in double figures, and the Jays got a big lift from Ryan Kalkbrenner off the bench. He had 13 and did his best defensively too. When Nebraska went small to maybe try to exploit him, he stood up and blocked a shot and forced a turnover. That was all in the middle of sort of the moment when Creighton was making its push and making its run. For Nebraska, obviously that second half is disappointing, and that'll stick with them. But if they do want to look at find some positives, they can find a lot in the first half. Like I said, I thought they were really tough mentally and physically too. They got Creighton to turn the ball over in maybe some uncharacteristic ways. Nebraska has length and athleticism, and when they're locked in and engaged defensively, they can make it tough on teams, and they did make it tough on Creighton in the first half. The Jays, even though they finished with I think it was 44 points in the first half, they never quite found a flow. And part of that was because maybe they fouled too much or had some miscues on defense that led to some Nebraska buckets that kind of gave the Huskers some confidence. But also, I think Nebraska just, with the way that they were playing defensively, how they were rotating to cut off driving lanes, and they were doubling in the post and making those touches tough inside for Creighton, and stayed in the game and withstood some Creighton surges. There were moments in the first half when it felt like, well, maybe Creighton's going to stretch this out to 10 or 12, but Nebraska came right back and had the answer. Teddy Allen during one stretch was big. He came in with 2 fouls and got back-to-back buckets to pull Nebraska within 1, and then he had an and 1 that gave Nebraska its first lead since the opening moments. I think that was late in the second half. Creighton answered, and it was kind of back and forth from there until halftime. But like I said, in the second half, Creighton really kind of showed why it's, well, frankly, the number 8 team in the country. So it's the second win in a row in the series for Creighton. It's 9th out of the last 10 against Nebraska, and Nebraska hasn't won here in Omaha, and hasn't won a regular season game in Omaha since 1995. So obviously they'll look to get some revenge next year, but at least for 1 year, Creighton has the bragging rights, and it was an important one for the Jays. Their players talked about it before the game and after about wanting to beat Nebraska. The Jays obviously have some big goals this year, but this game still means a lot to them, and they showed it on Friday. So follow all our coverage on Omaha.com. I've got the Creighton side of things. Sam McEwen's writing up the Huskers side, and Tom Chattel obviously has his his takes on this game and all of Creighton and Nebraska basketball content for the rest of the year. So follow our coverage on Omaha.com. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching.